Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. It's an odd situation. I'm recording this on a Monday, and then I'm trying to get some stuff just, taken care of ahead of time. Trying to get it out Friday, if that happens. But that's sort of the goal. Try to get it out Friday. So here's what's going on. I've sort of taken a hit just because of my release schedule from the holidays. So I know we had to sort of build back up to normal numbers, so there's that, and then also just in general, WizKids has made it a little interesting, being pro them and anti them. For one, yay Ninja Turtles. I know some people are happy that that's coming soon, but at the same time, it's like, man, Ninja Turtles, modern age. Like, I know some people are super happy about that, but I'm not. Because that means now I have to buy a lot of Ninja Turtles to get what I need, and I don't really like that. Definitely for the sets. The way the set is distributed, I don't like that. But that's just more of my opinion on the... on how it's broken down, because whenever you have like a micro like set or anything like that, it always has like some funky situation where one figure in particular is, regardless of how hard you try, it just doesn't show up, and then that's where I'm like, eh. Anyway, so let's look at today's show, and today's show is going to be about a nice comment that I got here in the section, and then afterward we're going to sort of elaborate on, when the time is left, we're going to probably do some what in your head, but if not, that's fine. He writes in the comments on episode 164. Hey Edward, I would love if you would make a video about fair play and rules. On my venue, in my venue, some people are very strict about free actions and stuff like that, picking entity powers or values, for example. If you want to change your decision, they don't allow you. Okay, I think that it's fair to play like that, but there are times when doing that causes a lot of stress. 2015 Nationals were a bloody massacre here. You couldn't say perplex damage and then change it to something else 1 second after calling it unless you wanted to start an argument. It would be nice to explain how does this work in I guess where I play at. Keep it going with the videos. They are really interesting and hilarious. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to tackle this from multiple perspectives, and I some of this I understand where you're coming from, William, and then the other part I'm going to tell you where some other perspectives are coming in. So first off, is there a time to let stuff be taken back? Yes. When you're at your local venue, you don't care about the prize, and you're playing the new guy, or what they intended to say and what they actually said and all that stuff. That's cool. Now, if you are dealing with people who are constantly like, no matter what situation, they're like, you can't take this back, you can't take that back, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah 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 blah. Then yeah, I can understand how that can be intense and annoying. I definitely fully understand that. Now, the other end of this is a very, very different situation. Now, you talked about nationals, and nationals is the best of the best play. It's for the US, I would say is probably it's our second largest in population tournament, in the fourth or fifth hardest tournament of the whole year. Now, I know some people might say, like, nationals, you sure it's not the second? No, it's like fourth or fifth. And the reason is, Rocktober is harder, Origins is harder, and the Majestics regional is harder. Just right there, you're dropping to fifth place. I'm not going to be like Tulsa's harder than. No, I'm not going to say that. But in terms of competition, you're already looking at three other tournaments at minimum, bumping it down, because you're bound to. I hate to say it, play a lot of weak players. One loss, you're bound to play a weaker player. So, with that being said, when you're at nationals or at worlds or at a super Q, if it's first round and your first round, don't expect any mercy. Second round, if you lost, yeah, okay, maybe some mercy. If you won, no mercy. Like, as you win, you can't expect that, because everybody's trying to break. And that one little thing that seems like, from a perspective, I wouldn't say of a casual person, because if you're listening to the show, you're not casual. But from a perspective of a person that more enjoys the sort of like, hey guys, let's get together and play heroclix aspect of the game, and not so much of, Conan, what is good in life, to hear the screaming of your enemies and the lamenting of their women, the other side of that coin, the Conan side more comes out during the major events. And so you really can't expect mercy. Now, there are some players that will let you do that, and I've played against a bunch of great players that have let me take minor corrections back, but never moves. And there are some things that are like in generally understood, and you can't enforce them to say, no, please understand, you have to call this every turn, because I can't use that as like a laissez-faire, easy getting over moment. Now, the main problem is how entities work, because entities don't stay the same until they are declared again, which would have been freaking awesome. So freaking awesome, but they're not. And so I for a rule, do this like if my opponent is jettisoning really fast, on a casual tournament, like at my local venue, I'll be like, are you sure that's it? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. At a advanced venue or a bigger event, I'll let them blow past, and then they'll be like, well, I mean, blah, blah. I'm like, you didn't call it, homie. I got to take this. Because the skill level, you're talking about one moment, and that one moment of failure in detail will cost you everything. And that's the thing about, like, I'll bring it in dancing terms, because I want to do like kung fu terms, but I've been using that a lot lately, and I might use it later. But in dancing terms, let's say, for example, I went to dance class this evening, and my instructor was talking about doing a turn properly. And doing a bachata turn properly, you first initiate the turn, come in close when you close your feet, and then you end with a bigger step so that your inertia is taken by that last step, and then you tap. If you do small circle, bring it in, and then small step, what will end up happening is that your body inertia will take over, and you're going to get off beat, even if you don't fall over or tip over or be off balance. So Why is that a big deal? Well, timing. And it shows the difference between a person that has refined their skill and a person that hasn't. And I will say this, having running a team has opened my eyes to a lot of things that I, for one, as a player, did not take advantage of in my development now that I have to develop other people. And not only that, things that I thought weren't important have cost members of my team games. And so as a coach, it becomes essential for me to be like, no, that's not what that power says. Read the card. No, that's not how that's ruled. Look at the book. No, you only have this much time. Tighten this up. Tighten your intro up. Tighten your game plan up. Tighten how you look at maps up. Tighten, tighten, tighten. And again, you might say, but Dark Logos, you run a semi-pro heroclix team. Yeah, I do. But at the same time, you have to look at, if the level of competition is at a certain point, then you have a choice. You can elevate to the competition, or be considered the lowest denominator. Each has pros and cons, but it's your choice. I can't move your preference. Okay. There are venues that the lowest common denominator dominates the venue. There are other venues where the highest common denominator, rules the venue. Okay. So, both happen. But there's also some things where it's complicated when it comes to game mechanics in particular. There are some powers and abilities that stay the same until you declare again, like Cersei's ability with, I think it's like energy shield deflection or blades. I think that's it. Or you have things like the entities or the possession mechanic, where it has to be declared every turn. And if your opponent doesn't declare it at the beginning of their turn, or use their ID cards at the beginning of their turn, I still think the ID cards are the first thing that has to be done in the turn. I might be wrong with that. Then you are then stuck with a timing that WizKids put in play for a reason. And if the game progresses past that, then the balance element of that mechanic is pretty much thrown out the window. And that opponent, or the person that lets it slide, has a huge swing of advantage by doing so. And if you look at it from the other end, like if your opponent allows you to take back a perplex, what they're doing is saying is, hey, guy, because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to let you kick me in the nuts for free. Now, I can't guarantee that I will get that chance to kick you in the nuts back. But because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to allow you to kick me in the nuts for free. And that's how games can swing. It's like, wow, here it comes. Like Lucy with the football. I'm Charlie Brown. I went in for the kick. Full energy behind it, flipped and fell right on my back. And then, Lucy comes over and it's like, Charlie Brown, that was a real bad thing to do. I'm going to give you another chance to kick the football. And then Lucy actually allows Charlie Brown to kick the football, and it wins the game. Okay. That's how you have to start seeing that as. It's not a minor thing, because it's a major thing, because it allows for tempo control, placement, pressure, a ton of different variables that the casual player or the player that's still starting to learn hasn't quite realized how powerful they are, because they look like trivial concepts in comparison to the digits on the dial. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, and this isn't, me trying to give you some man on the mountain wisdom, levitating down, giving you, a nugget of keepsakes, but really, every little thing that you do builds advantage. Every every action is a brick laid for your victory or your defeat. It's up to you. And so I understand how that goes down with the opponents, and definitely for people that have played for a long time. I know from myself personally, I've experienced a lot of losses to new people by letting them take back stuff, and them getting hits in when technically I shouldn't have let them get hits in. And has that cost me, as a person? Not as much, but then when people find out, like, yeah, that's Dark Logos and he does shows, and it's like, yeah, I beat Dark Logos, and then they get this sense of achievement that's really not a legit sense of achievement. It's, you beat me in the midst of my kindness, and then the next time we play, it's like, so let me like unravel the darkness in front of you. And then it's like, oh, then they realize like, oh, he let me get over on that. And there's some people where that's an ego issue. And I'm just being real with it. There's some people that's an ego issue because they don't like feeling that somebody let them win or let them have advantage when they shouldn't have. That's why for me, when I play female players, I go for the jugular every time. Like I just do. It's an act of respect. Because if I'm going to say you are my equal, then you're going to have to prove it in battle. There's no advantage for being a child or a lady. I told people, I've said this on the show before. When I played what is it? The National Chess Federation chess. Full rankings and everything. The first year I went to nationals, and I was happy. I was like, I'm here. I've been working on my rating. I'm a mighty 800. I feel great. And I'm going into the under 1,000 category, which is the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Okay, you're tadpoles in the pond, but I felt great. And I end up playing a kid that's, a 1,500 rating in a casual game. And I'm 15 and the kid's 5. And he waxes me so bad. He just says like, Daniel-san, I'll show you karate. I show you karate. Now give me that Capri Sun. Do it now, Daniel-san. Give me the Capri Sun. Straw in, straw out. Straw in, straw out. Straw in, straw out. That is the way of chess. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, you beat me. Cool. Then he's like, play my sister. She's not as good as I am. So I play his sister. His sister had like a 1,300 rating, I found out later, and she beat me really bad. Okay. So that moment is when I fully realized, when it comes into the area of the mind, the warrior is as strong and as weak as the mind. Okay. And this is something that also becomes awkward when we start becoming self-aware of this, is that when applied with other pressures, we don't like to consider ourselves or recognize the weaknesses in ourselves, and that those weaknesses require us to change, and those weaknesses require us to work. And then people think that if you enjoy something, then there's no work behind it. But then I would tell you, any musician, any comedian, any actor, if they never worked, all the performances that you saw would be trash. Like complete trash. Even with me in the show, like, how much work do you all think I put in? And I don't mean this to be like, I put in a ton of work, pat myself on the back, I'm Dark Logos. But really ask yourself, how much work, how much time, how much knowledge has he put in to give us an hour or hour and a half, episode? How much editing does he put in? He also does the query. How much work does he put in on that? Getting a hold of people and interviewing them and editing it and all this other stuff. if I didn't put in work, and like sometimes I accidentally put up raw shows because things get mismanaged. What's the quality like? How embarrassing is that for me? What does that say about my work? And so some people think when someone says you need to work, that all of a sudden all the labor is going to be strenuous and it's just going to add stress to your life. And that's not true. Now you have to make time and you have to say no to other things, and you can't live this Epicurean lifestyle where it's about me and my pleasures, but you can achieve something that's really cool. You know, do I have a ton of followers on the show in comparison to some other HeroClix shows? No. But at the same time, I offer something that no other show really offers, which is inside of your head and a very deep understanding of HeroClix to a step-by-step application level, not just a theory level. So, are there a handful of people that listen to the show and then benefit from it? Yeah. And some of them are real well-known players. Some of them are not so well-known players. But with that, if I said, hey, William, these people, they all work. All your world champions work. Would you be like, yeah, but that's them? Or would you be like, okay, I got to put in work if I want to be like them? So there's that. But I think also it comes in from the way it sounds. Like no one just taught you like, hey, this is how to make this part of your game better, of making your actions and thinking out your actions. So let's sort of cover that. First off, what I've done recently in coaching is what is your beginning of your turn checklist? What are you doing every turn? What are you looking at? For Rocktober, I was able, because of my checklist, I was able to have 30-second turns. And some people might say that's not a lot, but by having 30-second turns, I'm doing everything I can. My opponent can't really think on my turn, and I'm spending the entirety of the match thinking on my opponent's turn. The entirety of the match thinking on my opponent's turn. Very rarely did I take a 2-minute or a 3-minute turn. Okay, but a majority of that came in was, and this is me doing this off the top of my head from mental memory exercises. It's this. All right, beginning of turn, declare heal with entity on Ultron drone or probability control, +1 defense, +1 defense. Then if I don't need to heal, prob. Go over to Brainiac Skull Ship, eat a city. Still beginning of my turn. Do I have Perplex? Yes or no? Okay, I have Perplex. Do I need to use Perplex right now? Yes or no? Okay, cool. Assign, eat the city. All right, cool. Ate the city. What do I have? Can I use that this turn? Yes or no? Boom. Okay, great. Next, assign constructs. Cool, I got constructs. Do I need to attack this turn or sit back and heal and roll regen? Okay, I've healed with the entity sidestep heal. Okay, cool. Healed. Bam. I'm healed 1. All right. Roll regen with the nurse construct. Bam. Done. Okay. So that's my checklist, but in my opponent's turn, I know what I'm going to do with that checklist. And so if you spend your time during your opponent's turn being like, well, he's doing this and doing that and all this other stuff, and you need to pay attention to those things. But if he's just sitting there thinking, you sit there and think about what you want to do and imagine how that's going to come about. The next thing is don't talk until you're ready. Don't talk until you see it. Don't perplex, don't prob, don't do any of that stuff until you're ready. And a lot of times what ends up happening is you a lot of people can't handle dead silence. Okay? So I'm going to prove this. I'm going to prove this right now. I want you to draw into my words. Come in close. Relax into it. You're believing what is being told. The next thing that I'm about to tell you is really important. It's going to transform your game to the next level, bring you up there to that. You can see that door to the pro area. And that's about 30 seconds. You feel how awkward that feels? And this is just in terms of conversation. I raised up my verbal intensity to try to imitate that feeling that you feel as a player on a minute level. Now you heighten, your sense of awareness and your adrenaline up by 500. And then, yeah, those little moments seem like they're taking forever and that your opponent is rushing you to do something. But in actuality, you are in no rush whatsoever to do anything. Okay. And so having that time to think on your opponent's turn, having an order in which that you're going to take everything, and then even more importantly, just handling that pressure well. It'll allow you to clean up a lot of stuff in your game, and just being mindful of it. If your goal was to poison at the beginning of the turn, look at your opponent's dial, see if they have a damage reducer. If they do, out with the damage reducer and then poison. It just takes an extra step of look at the figure. Okay? And you might say, Dark Logos, this is a lot of things for me to remember. Well, dude, I write all of this down. For every team that I've run successfully in high level competition, and my teammates, Jamie, everybody that knows me personally knows that for every tournament that I go to, I have notes. I have pages of notes. Like the not the tiny sticky notes, but the ones that you can write almost like your grocery list on, except you have them like for the office. Like I at least have 4 pages minimum of notes. Usually it's like 8 to 10 pages stapled together. And I just flip through that, getting to the tournament, standing in line for registration. Sometimes in between rounds, I go look at those notes and start asking myself, was I being aware of this? What new development did I find in the middle of the game? Blah, 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 blah. This. Okay, add that into my memory bank. Let's go. I coached one of my teammates here recently, and he won a win-a-map, which I'm like, yay. And he was playing Super Scroll, and I'm like, we don't have enough time. We have 15 minutes. I'm going to download into your brain my preloaded Super Scroll sort of katas. Like you run this. You see this situation, this. This other situation, this. This is why you run this combination of powers and that combination of powers and that combination of powers. Blah 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 blah. So that he doesn't have to think about it. He just sees the situation as like, oh yeah, bam, that's what I need right there. Running shot, precision strike, invincible prob. You see how quickly I said that? I didn't sit there and think about it. It came just straight off of me. Running shot, pulse wave, energy shield deflection, prob, sidestep, poison, invincible outwit. You see how quickly that came out? But if you're not putting those things in you, then they don't come out of you. I remember one of my former pastors I listened to well, one of my former past, one of my former pastors actually, he had a phrase before he started hooping, and then for those who've never been to black church, hooping is when they go wow, all right, yeah, and all that stuff. But he said it's something on the inside that comes out on the outside. It's something on the inside that comes out on the outside. And during a game, we sometimes find that something on the inside that we thought was rich gold is actually hay and stubble, and you have to cast it into the fire and see if it survives, and it doesn't. And a lot of times we don't confront that insecurity or confront our lack, and we're told that we're great just the way we are, and we abuse that, that sense of, hey, you're a cool person, with my shortcomings in all cases are acceptable. And sort of like I said before, like I have a different perspective on all this stuff, definitely after playing a couple of years of high level competitive play, that if you're going into like the lion's den, and if you ain't got God with you, you're going to get eaten, and if you're not expecting danger, petting the lion, then yeah, you're going to lose a hand or more. The local venue, like I said before, like if you're able to, keep it casual in the casual games, but understand when people are gunning for stuff that they're going to be a lot more serious. And then also, like, don't take it personal, and don't try to make it all about you, because if you try to make it all about you, then that's when the grudges happen. Like they act like this because I'm, I didn't make a trade with them, or blah, 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 blah. It just might be that, that's their personality and their worldview, that they have to stick to it. But at the other end, when you deal with people that stick to the rules hard, whenever they make mistakes, you don't let them up on it. You can't. And it's not necessarily giving them the taste of their own medicine, but it's just more along the lines of playing in context of how they're playing. And usually for me in high point tournaments or high level tournaments, there's some stuff that it's like, if you get all your beginning of your game stuff, swapped out and whatever, I'm like, okay, cool. But we're top 16. I'm like, no, I'm not letting certain stuff slide. I can't. So that's there too. So I would definitely tell you, William, like, decide where you want to go. If you want to move towards being a more experienced player, then and go into big events, then you need to practice how you're playing, and where your practices, your weekly events, and stay on top of it, and keeping yourself tight. You can't control that. You can't control your opponents. If you're able to control all those elements within yourself, then what your opponents do, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's like I said, there's my perspective is just a bit different. But I do recognize this, if getting better as a player, there's a lot of habits that one has to let go of to get better, and there's some of those habits to get better that the community looks down upon because it doesn't allow them to just sort of wing it. And I think that also comes in from our definition of fun, that fun can't have structure, but rules provide structure for games. And that taking anything seriously means it can't be fun, but seriousness also determines how much you value something. So it's interesting how we use certain language so that we can try to dissuade certain temperaments to preserve fun without actually looking that those temperaments are there also in the process of fun. So there, it's complicated. All right, so let's do a little bit of team building, what's in your head stuff, because that's what I'm going through now. Like, I need to build this team, and I don't have anything quite solid yet. So what you always got to do is, at first determine where you need to come from. Like, I have a 600 point theme team that I need to build, and my friend of mine, he told me to look at Hydra, and there's Hydra, and then the other option he told me to look at is sort of making an Inhumans Kree mix team, utilizing whatchamacallit, he was from Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan the Accuser from the standard set from Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, the pros and cons of both are a little telling, but the starting point for both of these is different. Whereas, like, my starting point for the Inhumans team is a figure. The starting point for the Hydra team is more along the lines of a general concept of what I want to achieve for growth. And so the Hydra team is just mainly for me to utilize, and grow my puppeteering skills, not really to win. The Inhumans, team idea is more about let's go ahead and try to win this sucker. It makes it a bit different in purpose. And so that being said, like, also even starting pieces are really important, because Ronan the Accuser has, like I said, the ability to make Kree also have Inhuman, which would make it a theme team. But at the other hand, his stats aren't bad at 100, but he's also 153 points, and he's 7 clicks deep. And there's a lot of things that 600 points could one-shot him really easily. And his range is adequate, but he also has Indomitable. His stats are adequate, and that sort of sucks. Now, he has this invisibility cloak. Ronan the Accuser can use sidestep. Ronan the Accuser can't be targeted by non-adjacent opposing characters unless he made an attack during your last turn. So he could pretty much stay invisible and not be targeted unless they're adjacent to him. So that's pretty cool. All right. Now, when we start looking at Inhumans, we have, a lot of options, but then also we have to ask ourselves, like, what from the Kree would be, really good for us to use as well. So let's start with the Kree and look at that, because, I think that when you start adding on stuff, you have like your brought in keyword as like your fill in. And I mean, you also can do vice versa, where it's like, okay, I got some Kree here. I don't really have a lot of Kree that I want to use except like these two. So let me just look at these two Kree and add those teams to my Inhumans. And, or you could just be like, all right, I got a bunch of Kree. I need these Inhumans to fill in. Now, a couple of cool pieces that are really nice. First off is like Supreme Intelligence. at I think it's his lower point value. It's 250, but that it eats up too many points on a 600 point team. Like if I did him and Ronan, then yeah, I would have a nice, 1-2 punch. But at the other end, the Supreme Intelligence is not that deep. So 250 points for what I'm doing in a theme team, it's not the best. Okay, so you have Captain Marvel Prime. So that right there is like a auto win. I know that for a fact. And I like the what's this here? The Creed General. Creed General. This trait, Creed strategy divide. Each opposing character that isn't adjacent to another opposing character modifies his defense value by -1 unless already modified by this effect. So you can't stack it. But what you can do is you can then pack energy explosion because then they're going to be closer together. So that would be something to look for on the Inhumans end or even the Kree end. It's just like, do you have energy explosion? The Kree Lieutenant is a very expensive enhancement. But then you also have Kree Strategy, Overwhelm adjacent friendly characters with the Kree keyword, modify their attack values by +1, unless already modified by this effect. Well, considering it's 45 points and we're getting enhancement, to get a +1 attack to my Kree would be nice. So I'll just put that on there. Now, no, I could take these off, at any point in time. Korath Pursuer doesn't quite do it for me. The one from the main set. Martyr would be nice, but already have Ronan sort of filling my high point shoes, and even though Martyr does have something to like heal friendlies, but that's okay. We got Captain Atlas, who is really expensive, but could have been like really monster if he didn't start with a 9 attack. And then he can give out power, make it so somebody can use Empower. But he also has Energy Explosion, Pulse Wave, and Power Cosmic Team ability when he gets to his middle dial. So that's sort of nice. But we can't really depend on that. Now, like the Kree Major gives us this Energy Explosion that we want, but I don't have any of those ones. So that sort of sucks for me. And then I could do, if I can get 3 characters that are Kree that are more points than the Kree Private, which isn't that hard, then a bunch of Kree Privates would be pretty good, because they can, you can have 3 or 4 of them, and then you can modify all their stats by 1, so then they'll end up having like 5 range, 10 attack, 17 base defense, and 3 damage. As long as you're able to keep 3 higher figures than them in range, and then they also get sidestep and incapacitate if you want them to. Now, you also have like Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie, and it's not bad, but it's not the greatest either. Yeah. So I'm looking at Korath, the Pursuer, and Korath from the movie set, and at 50 points, he's pretty useful outwit. I think that he's probably one of the better deals there. Yeah, I think he's probably one of the better deals. So I'm gonna just click that over, and All right, now I need to look at the Inhumans. And like I said, like the main advantage of the Inhumans is getting that perplex that they had off of their trait. Um, so, but that, I mean, you could balance some things out. Like I don't have props so far, and as you can sort of tell, I'm sort of shifting toward looking seriously at these. This technically an Inhuman Kree mixed team. Um, let's see. Now I wish I had the Chase Ultron 7, but I don't, because that would actually be pretty awesome, to have that, because it definitely would give me another like offensive option. I don't have the Miss Marvel's Inhumans, the Miss Marvel in the one with Inhumans keyword. So that sucks. The Kamala Khan, or yeah, Kamala Khan. I do think that she'll end up getting remade anyway. So yeah. Sarah Garza. Hmm. Um, that's interesting. I didn't know she had Inhumans keyword, but that would be a good sort of ad. I'm gonna click on that one. That would be a good ad, just because I could get Shield TA into there, and now I start looking at my offense here. Now, Black Bolt from the Fast Forces, which I do have, fortunately, starts off with Precision Strike and gets leadership. If I play him at 150, if I play him at 100, he's a lot softer, but he has hypersonic speed. And so right now, I'm just going to just click both and then assess later like what is actually useful. But let's look at the traits again. And in Human Royal Family, when Black Bolt uses carry ability, can carry any character with the Inhuman's keyword. He doesn't modify his speed value from the carry ability. Oh, sorry. Yeah, when he uses the carry Inhuman, he doesn't modify his speed. So that would be really good to zip in and be like, bam, you know, I have this person next to me with hypersonic speed. So, um, uh, uh, see, the Medusa from the Fast Forces isn't bad because she could technically like just lock down a person, but with the 10 attack at 100 points, no. That Crystal, she's straight worth it. So I'm just gonna add her. And Karnak, Gorgon, too expensive, and then uh, we'll put in 25-point lockjaw because everybody loves 25-point lockjaw. Okay, so let's look at the rest of these here. Triton, he's cheap. We're right now we're sort of looking at like cheap perplex, sort of. No, alpha primitives nice, but I can just play Maximus and get alpha primitives, so that as well. So this is actually shaping up to be pretty good. So talent gives us prop at 60 points, so that's not bad. And I know I have at least 2 of them, so I possibly could put on 2 talons. Crystal from the main set gives us enhancement in Running Shot Pulse Wave. And does talent have that inhumanity keyword trait? No, he doesn't, because he doesn't have that. Karnak. Let's see. Karnak is probably, Karnak's 75 points is really good. And looking at his trait, you could put a sniper rifle on him in a normal game and it would be penetrating damage. But now, here's the other problem. Like, the Black Bolt from the main set has the Inhumanity trait, which if I compare 150 points for 150 points, the one from the Fast Forces is definitely giving me a better 150 points. But Black Bolt can use Perplex, but can't modify damage values. That's the Inhumanity. Sorry, Sonic Annihilation. Black Bolt can use Pulse Wave and improve targeting. Ignores blocking. When a range combat attack resolves any blocking terrain along line of fire is destroyed. So that's a separate thing. So he could actually just destroy through walls. But that's actually just for his Pulse Wave, actually. I'm looking at it. When he uses Pulse Wave, the attack generates knockback, and each hit character is knocked back 3 squares. So that's his special power at the end. But here's the thing that becomes very interesting. Pulse Wave would shut down your charge, so technically you would be able to generate knockback if you rolled doubles anyway. But making sure that you're guaranteed to do knockback is cool. But unfortunately, because it specifically says when you do knockback, it's 3 squares, then your 4 printed damage doesn't do you that much good for getting extra knockback. And I missed the trash man. Well, that sucks for me. The joys of being sick, if you can't tell. And we'll look at Lockjaw. Standard Lockjaw. Now, Standard Lockjaw has the Inhumanity plus Prob. Now, he has a shorter dial, but he's 75 points and he can charge. He has improved movement, ignores elevated terrain, ignores hindering terrain, ignores blocking terrain, may move through squares adjacent to and occupied by opposing characters, but still needs to break away normally. So he could just get up and go. So he has phasing, sort of, without having phasing, which is okay. Then Transport the Royal Family. Lockjaw can use carry ability, but he may carry up to 3 characters that share a keyword with him, regardless of their speed symbols. So Lockjaw, and I have this Lockjaw too, I just have to dig for him, is a hyper, mobility piece. And I don't have Thane. Maximus is broken. And let's look here. Medusa, Inhumanity, Deadly Locks. Medusa can use charge and plasticity during the beginning of your turn. Give Medusa a free action. Deal 1 penetrating damage to a single adjacent opposing character. With 1 or more action tokens. And no. Okay, so currently I'm sitting at 1,391 points. So I need to cut more than half of the points off of here. So if we look at it, where is the majority of like the real good stuff coming from? Like I sort of knew it was coming from the Inhumans. Not necessarily the Kree. Is this marriage worth it? Let's see. I mean, the Kree General, that's some good stuff. That's some really good stuff. The Kree Lieutenant as well is really nice. Captain Marvel, coming in and giving a defend is great. And then Ronan needs to be there to marry everything together. But that also makes the rest of this really expensive. So even if we did make that the core, there's problems. So let's look at the Kree General real quick again, because the Kree General with Captain Marvel modifies defense value. Yeah, no, that's just more helping for my offense. So let's look here. The ranges aren't that big. And so that's an issue as well. And then if we're looking at defend, we can't, with a lot of pieces, defend, you start prioritizing your defend. And then, you can sort of figure out what you want to do. Now, if we look back at the Hydra situation, you have a bunch of great figures like Hive, Hydra Agent H, Hydra Recruit, Man Killer. Like I have hyped Man Killer and I haven't even played her yet, which is sort of sad. Imperial Hydra, and of course Wolverine Agent of Hydra, which is a long-standing solid figure. Also Armanzola and Weasel. I like Armanzola, the one from Deadpool, for the mind control, and he pops out Perplex. So that one is a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with that. With the Inhumans, you really just start asking yourself, okay, if you can't perplex damage, then enhancement would become, really important. Because then you can, you can't perplex damage, so enhancement becomes really important. So enhancement figures like Kree Lieutenant and Crystal from the standard set all of a sudden become a lot stronger. Okay, so you can start doing like your process of elimination there. And then if you click through, on average, you're looking at like 10 attacks and stuff. Now, the Kree Lieutenant would not affect the Inhumans, so we have to get rid of that. Korath the Pursuer at 50 gives us an outwit, but also we're looking at Maximus at 75 points is also giving us outwit, inhumanity, and also alpha primitives. So Korath the Pursuer can go. Sarah Garza, again, we have the issue about damage, and our ranges are okay. They're standard. They're not that crazy great. Dial Pulse Wave, but we can't depend on that. And she has standard Perplex. So that's nice. But you can't. We might actually have better stuff now with the Perplex plus Shield. That's really nice. So we start breaking down the tale of Black Bolt. Black Bolt getting leadership at this stage would be great, but with having Ronan on the team, and Ronan technically being our like monster attacker, we really don't have enough points for a high point Black Bolt. So the 150 point Black Bolt is gone. Even though it would have been nice to sort of say have Black Bolt at 150 and Ronan, that gives us 300 points. Then we have 300 points left, but that puts a lot of weight of the team on Black Bolt and Ronan, and that's not going to fly. Yeah, the more I look at this, like the Hydra team is from the lineup that I'm looking at would be a lot of swarmy little bitty control elements. Definitely where if I could readjust it to play two hives, that would actually be a lot more beneficial, because a 10 attack with Hydra is really good. Because if you're for a ranged attack, definitely because you're looking at lowering your opponent's defense by 1 or 2, thus making you have an 11 or a 12. So that's why. Whereas with the Inhumans, just the flat out perplex on anything else that you want, if you combine it with Captain Marvel, it's way stronger. It's a lot slower. Still sort of goes with my general goal of like puppeteering, but definitely something a little bit more complex in application, because I have a bunch of different layers that I can put down. And I really do like that Crystal from the Fast Forces, and I think a lot of people don't look at her, unfortunately. I mean, she is a little bit soft, and, she can get hit, but definitely her elemental powers are really great. And then the fact that she packs barrier all the time because of her trait, it's great. It's great. And this is when she uses barrier or in smoke or a smoke cloud, she can use improved targeting, ignores characters. So she could just be like, I can see around you, to engage whoever she wants to engage, which makes it really great for trapping characters. And with willpower up front, it's great. But on this team right now, considering how offensive right now, I would say I wouldn't really need Crystal. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with this Inhuman team and take the advice of my friend. Not necessarily that Hydra is bad, but one of the main elements from Hydra that I don't have that I would need from talking with my friend is Baron Strucker from the Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Mainly for the, what was it? Ruthlessly pursuing Hydra's goals. Each time another friendly character with the Hydra keyword is KO'd by an opposing character, modify the combat values of all friendly characters with the Hydra keyword by +1 until the end of your next turn. And so if your opponent KOs multiple Hydra people in a turn, you can get +2 or +3. So when you combine that with Imperial Hydra, and then Baron Strucker all of a sudden has a 13 attack, a 21 defense, and 6 damage if you KO 3 minions. And they're lowering your defense by 2 for a ranged attack. Yeah, it's auto hit land when they retaliate. And not to forget like the Hydra's reaches sort of things. So they're counter attack, they're terrorism. It's not counter-terrorism. So, anyway, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to refine this Inhumans team. I am sick, and hopefully these antibiotics kick in here soon. But, we still have the giveaway going. I know some people might say, like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, yeah. I got to get rid of some stuff for space. So I'm doing Dark Logos' Bag of Coal contest. Email me. Make sure it says Bag of Coal in the email title so I know what it's for. And, email me and tell me how you're going to troll people with the bag of heroclix that I would give you. Again, Corey Matthews, you can't apply this time because you make me laugh too hard. And I don't want to seem hella biased. You make me laugh too hard, man. If anybody's gone back and listened to any of the previous contests where I've read his entries, they are hilarious. They are grade A hilarious. So I think he's won just about every contest I've done. He's got a winning entry in one of them. So, except for maybe the Iron Man thing. Back with the Silver Centurion, but I think for everything else I've given away, like he's been on it. So, so tired, so sick. Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, there's no cure for the flu out here, except for nanites, and then that makes you one of the evil, dirty robots. And you can follow my random musings there to find out when a new show is up. You can also email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it pithy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. And you can go to the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com, to donate to the show. Everything you donate goes to making the show better. My next thing is I got to look at video software. I got my PS4 and I need to set it up where I can upload video to like a channel, and I'm going to probably start just doing, I'm not Let's Plays, but if I can get my mic, if I can record what I'm saying and it goes into the game, then that's great. If not, then I need to find a way of like uploading it to YouTube and taking it off of YouTube and putting in an audio track and then re-uploading it to YouTube. I know it's a lot of work. I just don't want to hook a PS4 into a computer, and it's way too far away for me to try to run cable. But definitely playing Fallout. I'm willing to start a new Fallout game just to comment on stuff. even though I'm like 20 hours in and killed a bunch of people already and open up a bunch of different locations and have really good power armor. Maybe I'll just do a bridge thing. Yeah, but also you can buy the shirt from below, in the description below. You can get a Phoenix Nest t-shirt or a Starting Over podcast t-shirt. So that's it. Thank you all for listening. And you can sort of tell this is just from the audio quality. It's been broken up over a couple of days of me recording. And I'm just like really not feeling great. So thanks for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.